Roberts, but you'll find me in the choir programs as George because that's my official name. I have been with the Vancouver Chamber Choir since 1986. I was hired for the EXPO 86 concert series, and then I was in the bass section until 2001 and took a break to help raise a family, and then as of 2015 I'm back and really enjoying it. Really happy to be here. So the pandemic year for members of the Vancouver Chamber Choir has been both challenging and hugely gratifying in that we were lucky enough to have a place to go and sing more or less together and in proximity to our friends and make music and have a break from the kind of low-level pressure that was beating down on everybody for the last year and a half. Music has a real knack for being an antidote to that kind of thing, and I really appreciate that. I have hurried to every session. And singing masked, I didn't mind at all until the day that we sang with our masks off, and then I thought, oh rats, do I have to put that mask back on again? But it's kind of like Vancouver weather. You don't miss the mountains until that one sunny day in January and you can see them and you think, oh, if it rains again, I'm going to do something drastic, and then you just get used to the rain, kind of like that. So we're kind of conditioned for that kind of headspace here in this climate. Not having an audience, you do miss the instant, I'll say gratification, assuming that everybody applauded, and usually they do. But not being able to look out and see how people are responding to what you're doing. I love what I'm doing enough that it's okay. It's been okay, and you know that it's not forever. We have both our choir and other choirs in the city that have had a chance to put things online. I have especially enjoyed that, what have I enjoyed most? I have enjoyed the variety of the repertoire and how well suited to the choir it is, and I hear how skilled the choir is, and I respond really positively and think, okay, I want to sing that repertoire again, and I want to have another go at that one, but I wouldn't trade it for live performance. What's special about singing bass? That's a loaded question. Well, I enjoy singing bass because I was put in a position of having to sing tenor as a music student, and it was hard for me, and it took some of the joy out of singing. And so when John hired me as a bass, he hired me as a low bass, which I still chuckle about today. But it's allowed me to sing in a very comfortable range for my entire career, and I think it's meant that my voice is in better shape at my age than it would have been had I been trying to sing high G's and A's for X years. What brought me back? You know, kind of the same thing that took me out of the choir in the first place. I just kind of woke up one morning and said, well, it's time to go back. Just the same way that I woke up one morning and said, no, I need to stop choir because, and it was the right choice at the time, and I don't want to sound ungrateful, but when I left the choir, I had toured and I had, been to, I don't know, a dozen countries at that point and sung all this fabulous music, but when I stopped, it was exactly the right thing to do, and I didn't really miss it. I got to come back every once in a while as a sub, maybe that helped. But I went on to other things. I went on to teaching full-time, and conducting choirs and having a church music leadership job, and stay-at-home dad, and all kinds of fun things. And then in 2014 or so, I woke up and said, no, I really miss being in the choir. I would give up quite a number of things to go back and sing with John and my friends. So I did. I was lucky enough to have that opportunity. My greatest achievement, well, I have to say that it's a joint project, and I feel like my greatest achievement, or our greatest achievement, is our kids. We have 3 sons. They're grown. The youngest is 19. They're kind. They're funny. They are imaginative, talented. They're lovely human beings. And it's only sensible for me to say that it's all to my wife's credit, but I think it's just been a pleasure watching them turn into these lovely, lovely human beings. So I'm very proud of that.
Congratulations.
My most treasured possession, it's treasured because of sentimental reasons. I brought it with me. So this.
Oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Do you want
there
me
you
to put it
go.
this way?
Yes, we can see it now.
All right. This is off the door frame of the house where I grew up. The door that goes from the kitchen to the living room. My family lived in that house from 1913 to 2013. My father spent 78 years in that house. And this was the part of the door where the kids' heights were marked on the door jamb. So the oldest one on here is from about 1926. My father's brother, Buster, who died when he was 9, is on here. And the most recent one is my niece, Jessie, this is when she was like 16.
Oh my goodness.
And she's taller than I am. And so my brothers and sisters are on here. And then when the house was sold, my younger brother went back about 6 months later and knocked on the door and made a deal with the people who bought the house and said that he would replace this if they would let him take it. So they did. And he gave it to me. So it's in my living room, just leaning against the wall. But it's, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like a totem or something. I'm very interested in genealogy, and there are people on here, like my dad had 2 brothers that I never met. They died before they were 30. But they're on here. And so that's why.
It's like a family in one.
It's an heirloom and irreplaceable, really.
Yeah.
So, and it's all beaten up from kids with the thing that you roll around in when you're learning how to walk.
Oh.
This is all from my brother running into the door, racing from the living room to the kitchen in his walker. So favorite memories of being in the choir, I couldn't name just one, but the first big Orpheum concert that I sang as a full member of the choir was called Baroquefest. It was during EXPO 86. It was a collaboration with Ensemble de Lausanne and Michel Cobos, and it was an electrifying experience. I was so excited at the end of that concert, I couldn't put it into words. So that was, as a performer, that was a real, an amazing way. It anchored me in the choir, kind of waiting for that experience to happen again. And it happened again and again. Being in Detroit in 1998 at the American Choral Directors Association, I think it was National Conference, and performing Schaeffer's Once on a Windy Night for over 1,000, was it? Choral directors. Hard piece to sing, really challenging to keep track of where you are on the score, where did the tonality go, and is it supposed to come back, stuff like that. Full of sound effects, as Schaeffer is. And at the end of it, there was a bit of silence, and then the most thunderous applause. It was just lifted us right up off the floor. It was so exciting. I have a perfect storm of repertoire, leadership. John Washburn was on fire that night. He took a Bach motet at absolutely the most exciting tempo. And we had an extra, 25 or 30 singers from Switzerland with us. And it was wonderful. It was just wonderful. And I have to credit credit John, I have to credit how engaged the audience was, and it was like 2,800 people in the Orpheum. It was full, as I recall. I could be completely wrong about that, but in my mind, the house was full. And I remember that there was a bass from the Swiss choir behind me who had the most perfect voice, and it was so inspiring to have this golden kind of Dietrich Fischer Dieskau sound coming over my head and lifting me up to be a better singer at the same time. There were all kinds of things about it that just made it a kind of mountaintop experience. My favorite journey is by train from North Vancouver to 100 miles. And I don't think there's a passenger service that will make that trip anymore, but when there was, you experience pretty much every climate zone in the province. You go through amazing canyons with rivers roaring underneath you. You get up as far as Lillooet, and then you climb out of the Fraser Canyon up the side of these kind of benchlands and mesas, and you get higher and higher and higher, and then you come out onto the Caribou Plateau, and it's a different world again. So you experience the whole province, and it takes about 3 hours, 5 hours.
That's
Loved it.
beautiful.
Loved it. Spectacular. It hasn't been hard for me to stay inspired with chamber choir, because it's been kind of an escape through all this. To come to chamber choir every 4 weeks for 6 rehearsals and recording session has been a huge relief to have that in my life. In other areas of my life, I kind of have to get up in the morning and remind myself to stay positive about things. I have a church job, and we live stream our services, so I've basically been involved in a live television show every Sunday morning for 16 months. And the planning meetings that go into picking the music for it and finding the singers, because we were allowed to have 2 singers, and all the tech that went with it. Thank goodness they didn't involve me in that. And COVID has kind of put me in a headspace where at like 5 in the morning, my brain is going, doom, dread, everything's going to go wrong. And then you wake up, and the part of your brain, apparently the part of your brain that caretakes the world, it stops being filtered at that hour of your sleep cycle. And so all the negative things that you're trying to fix start to become predominant in your dream cycle. I have experienced that right up to my eyebrows through this whole thing. So every morning I wake up going, like there's something gripping my heart, and then about 20 seconds later I go, oh no wait, that was all in my sleep. As long as I can get past that in the morning, I'm pretty good to go.
Yeah.
I'm late enough in my career that I just appreciate everything I'm still paid to do, or given the freedom to do, whether it's in COVID or out of COVID. The teacher I had who was transformative, not just in terms of how I sang, but in terms of how I felt about singing, was Phyllis Mailing. And she said 2 things. The first thing she said was, you know, this is about 3 lessons in. Singing is supposed to be as easy as talking. And my brain went, because no one had ever put it in those terms before. It had always been work harder, try harder, figure it out more, not you're designed for this, just go ahead and sing.
Yeah.
So that was very, very helpful advice. And then the other thing she said was, 99% of the time, anything you're unhappy with about your voice will go back to how you breathed in the first place. And so, getting to the heart of why that is true has been really, really helpful in my singing life. And as confusing and frustrating as it might be to spend however many minutes in a voice lesson just working on how you breathe, when the penny drops and it suddenly makes sense, like how natural a process it is, it's just, you never go back. You never go back to trying to, make it happen. You let it happen. There's advice for life for you right there.
Yeah.
Don't try and make it happen. Let it happen.